physical potentialities exist and which do not. In that choosing, this is good, this is not good, he becomes the criterion for the basis being the lawfulness of the physical world. How's that?
And this brings us back to the idea of a criterion almost necessarily having to be external, like with Roger Federer. He's the greatest because he meets some standard of what a great tennis player is. Now you call him the criterion because he can arbitrarily decide what goes where. And I understand how that's a criterion.
A criterion, you'll have to say that again. What goes where, with, and with?
No, I just said, the way you seem to conceive of God is one who's ultimately free and could seemingly choose to have like a mountain floating in space or a star as small as a penny. It doesn't matter because he's the creator. He can do pretty much whatever he wants. And that the world we live in now can be aptly described as arbitrary because it didn't have to be like this. It could have been any number of ways. And since he seemed to be on the claim that there's nothing external to God, or at least no criterion external to God, there's no reason to believe that he's actually doing anything correct or right, or these words have no meaning at this point. And if there's no correct, right, or wrong, how is there a criterion?
In choosing what is made manifest, let me start actually here. When you said that the physical world is arbitrary, I agree, because that is I agree. In that, through the eyes of divinity, a physical system is arbitrary. It is. In that he was free, and that he chose what to make manifest and what not to make manifest by his own volition and not by some criterion external to him, we can say that in the eyes of God, what exists is arbitrary. Or perhaps a better word is out there, but I can't think of one. I'll accept yours.
I couldn't think of one either.
From that then, what was the second part of your question? You were talking about
Okay, with criterions, remember, Roger Federer, we say he's the greatest because he meets
sorry. Oh, right. That he would then become the basis of what is right and wrong. Because what is right and what is wrong is merely based on what exists. You see, it is, and this is going to talk about ethics real quick, and this will need.
But he determines what exists, so that makes any sort of rule set after that arbitrary, which kind of makes the idea of a criterion meaningless.
It's not meaningless. All meaning is derived from what exists, what is real, what is true. And God is the arbiter of what is true. He can change what is true to what is false and what is false to true. That's the nature of omnipotence. So to say that it has no meaning isn't correct in that the meaning is derived from the Creator itself. So to say that did God do the right thing in creating the world, those kinds of words do not apply to God in that it is merely the act of God that allowed the ideas of good and bad to come into existence. Because good and bad is a separation. It's to say that this is and that is not. And that happened only after the point that God created or God chose some finite set of principle to have to govern the physical world or other realities that exist or any amount of realities that exist. So in that distinction, in that moment in which there was separated from is not, good and bad were created. Bad being what it was not created by the ultimate creator of the universe, and good being what was chosen.
So many questions, but
I know. Okay.
Cool.
So
to try and keep
Go ahead.
I think you're still running into concern of God simply being the creator or the first cause, but not much else, because he made the criterion or standard, but he's not really in any way bound to it or has to follow it. We do, because we're physical,
Right.
or partly physical. So
Right. No, he doesn't have to. I mean, if he had to follow the criterion for the physical reality, the idea of, say, like miracles could not exist. He would be suddenly human. We are bound to the criterion of the physical reality. The originator of the physical reality would not be. Just as I could write a game, like a computer game or something, and choose to be bound to it or choose not to be bound to it and edit the code. And in that light, I mean, just like your tennis example, if we were to create tennis, we're not bound to tennis unless we simply agree by those rules. We are the creators of tennis and other such games. In that we can change what is good in tennis and what is bad in tennis by merely changing the rules, merely changing that criteria. From selecting, like we do, from that infinite potentiality of what a game called tennis could be and what it ought not be, based merely on what we desire. We could say that, they can only play on clay courts, or only play on grass courts, or only asphalt courts, or use, chickens instead of tennis balls, or whatever. And all of that is based on the malleable criterion.
Okay. However, if we wanted to be a great tennis, or like an exemplar of a tennis player, we have to abide by the rules of tennis. However,
Precisely.
Your creator God is not bound by them at all. So how can he in any way be a great manifestation of the physical world, or be called good? Well, obviously you don't call him moral or good. You just call him a creator, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But I'm still having this problem of how can he be like the criterion or standard for anything in the physical world when he is in any way bound by it? That's like calling the original creators of tennis. I suppose one of them didn't play tennis at all, but I'll come up with rules, calling him a great tennis player, even though he never played, just because he came up.
Okay, to say that God is a great thing, is that what you're saying? It's like, how can God be a great
well, this
something
goes
or
into
other?
the whole Criterion thing, because in Criterion standard, like say like they set the standard, like that means it's kind of good to meet that standard.
Right, but that standard only has meaning because tennis existed in the first place. And if we could convince the people who maintain the rules, as the rules are maintained by a committee, we could have it be such that either you or I could be the greatest tennis player tomorrow by merely changing the rules, you see. It's the rules that are maintained that dictate who is a good tennis player and who's not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And in that, then, if God is the creator of the criterion for reality, God dictates what it takes to be ethically right or ethically wrong, or pragmatically right or pragmatically wrong, politically right, politically wrong, or piously right or piously wrong, or anything else in between. But he himself is free and unbound by it. You're right. So to say that God is good or that God is evil does not apply. And I've made that argument before, and this is the reason why. But we are quickly approaching 30 minutes, so I'll let you have one more question, and we'll wrap it up.
One more question.
Yeah. Sorry.
All my other questions will lead to probably another half-hour discussion. So.
All right. Well, we'll definitely have to speak again sometime, and I appreciated it. So thanks for coming on.